"You're an embarrassment. Do you know that? An actual embarrassment." My daughter-in-law said it quietly, which was somehow worse than if she'd screamed it. We were standing in the parking lot of St. Anthony's Church in Naperville, Illinois, 40 minutes before my son's wedding ceremony. I had just climbed out of my 2009 Chevy Silverado, the one with the rust patch above the rear wheel well, that I kept meaning to fix, and she was already walking toward me with that look on her face. The look I'd seen a dozen times over the past 2 years, but never quite understood until that moment. She glanced at my truck, then at me, then at the row of cars behind us, a white Porsche Cayenne, a black Audi, something silver and low to the ground I didn't recognize. "My parents flew in from Scottsdale," she said. "My father's business partners are here, our friends from the firm." She paused. "And you show up in that." I was wearing my best navy blue wool blend, the one I bought at JCPenney the same week my son graduated from college. I'd had it dry cleaned. I was wearing the tie he gave me for Father's Day 3 years back. "I'm his father," I said. She looked at me like that was the funniest thing she'd ever heard. Her name was Cassandra, Cass. Everyone called her, and she had grown up in a house with 4 bathrooms and a heated pool in Scottsdale, Arizona. Her father ran a real estate investment firm. Her mother organized charity galas. They were the kind of people who used the word summer as a verb. My son Tyler had met her at the consulting firm where he worked in Chicago, and from the first time I shook her hand, I could feel something behind her smile that I couldn't name back then. Now I can. It was calculation. "I need you to stay toward the back during the reception photos," she said, not quite meeting my eyes. "We've hired a photographer, and there's a whole shot list. Family portraits, you understand, and it's just that the aesthetic." "The aesthetic," I repeated. "It's a cohesive look. We want everything to feel intentional." She tilted her head slightly. "You understand." I did understand. I understood completely. I'm a retired electrician. 31 years with the same company, industrial work, mostly, the kind of job where you spend half your day in crawl spaces and the other half 60 feet up. My hands are rough, my truck is old. My suit was bought on a Tuesday afternoon at a mall in Joliet because didn't know where else to go. I am not the father-in-law Cassandra had pictured when she imagined her wedding. Tyler found me by the side entrance 20 minutes later, already looking like a man who'd been apologizing for something all morning. "Dad," he said. "I know," I said. She gets anxious about things looking a certain way. It doesn't mean." "I know, son." He hugged me. I could feel how tense his shoulders were. My boy who used to fall asleep on my chest watching baseball, who cried for 2 days when our dog died, who called me every Sunday during his first year of college just to talk. He was standing in front of me in a rented tuxedo, and he looked like he hadn't slept in a week. "It's going to be a good day," I told him. He nodded, but he didn't look sure. The ceremony was beautiful, I'll give her that. The church was full of white flowers and soft light, and people in expensive clothes. I sat in the 3rd row on the groom's side. During the vows, I watched my son's face, and whatever else was happening around me, that part was real. He loves her. I've never doubted that. Tyler has always loved too easily and too completely, which is something he got from his mother, God rest her. Susan died 11 years ago, breast cancer. Tyler was 19. It was the 2 of us after that, in the house in Lockport, until he moved to Chicago for work. Every Thanksgiving, every Christmas, every random Tuesday he needed to talk through a problem. It was the 2 of us. I mention this so you understand what it meant to me to be at that wedding. The reception was at a venue called the Carrington Estate, a renovated mansion with grounds and a string quartet, and past hors d'oeuvre that I couldn't identify. I ate what I could and smiled at the people around me and nursed a glass of bourbon at a table near the edge of the room. The photographer moved through the crowd like a shark, and every time he came near me, someone seemed to find a reason to pull me into conversation somewhere else. I noticed. I counted. Cassandra's mother, Vivienne, sat across from me during dinner. She was immaculate, silver hair, silk blouse, the kind of tan you get from a lifetime of having places to go. She spoke to me twice, once to ask what I did for work, once to comment that the weather had been surprisingly pleasant for October. Then she turned to the woman beside her and didn't look at me again. Cassandra's father, Reed, shook my hand once with both of his and called me buddy. There is an envelope in the inside pocket of my navy suit. There has been since I left the house that morning. It contains a cashier's check made out to Tyler and Cassandra for $42,000. The entirety of what I've saved over the past 3 years, plus what I had left from refinancing the house when Susan got sick and we'd since paid back, plus a small inheritance from my brother that I'd never touched. It is everything I have that isn't retirement and a paid-off house. I almost handed it to Tyler during cocktail hour. Then Cassandra walked past me without making eye contact, and I put my hand on the envelope and I thought, Not yet. Tyler gave a toast at dinner. He talked about his mother. I sat very still and watched him and did not cry, which I consider one of the greater accomplishments of my life. 3 weeks after the wedding, Cassandra called me on a Sunday evening. She was warm in a way she'd never been, bright, almost bubbly. And I remember thinking that this must be who she was with people she wanted something from. She told me she and Tyler were thinking about buying a condo. A specific one, on the 34th floor of a building in the South Loop, 2 bedrooms, a view of the lake. It was just under $800,000. We've looked at the numbers, she said, and we could do it with a little help. A loan from family, which Tyler mentioned you might be able to. How much? I asked. $40,000, she said without hesitating. Just as a bridge loan. We'd pay it back, of course. We'd put something in writing. I told her I'd think about it. She said she understood completely and thanked me for being so open, which is a word people use when they mean compliant. I hung up and sat in my kitchen for a long time. Tyler called the next day. He seemed embarrassed. He said Cass had mentioned the conversation. He said they didn't have to do the South Loop place. There were other options. He just wanted to make sure we were okay. We're always okay, I said. Are you happy? A pause. Yeah, Dad, I'm happy. Good, I said. That's what matters. I did not send the $40,000. Over the next year, I watched my son's life from a careful distance. He came out to Lockport for Christmas. Alone, Cassandra was visiting her family in Scottsdale. He came for my birthday in March, alone again. Cass had a work event. We had dinner at a steakhouse in Joliet and split a piece of chocolate cake, and he talked too fast about everything and nothing, the way he does when he's trying to convince himself that things are fine. I wasn't convinced. In April, 14 months after the wedding, Cassandra called me again. This time she cried. She told me she'd been pregnant, 8 weeks along, and she'd lost the baby 3 days ago. She said it was devastating. She said Tyler was struggling. She said she herself was barely holding together. I told her I was sorry. I meant it. Whatever I thought of Cassandra, that is not something I would wish on anyone. Then she said, the medical bills have been, it's been a lot with the follow-up care and the specialist, and she took a breath. Tyler mentioned your offer to help with the condo. I wonder if the same conversation is still possible. I said I'd have to look at my finances. She said she understood. I sat with that call for 2 weeks. Something about it was off. The way she'd moved from grief to money inside of a single breath. The way her voice had steadied the moment she got to the number. I'm not a suspicious person by nature, but I know what desperation sounds like, and what I heard on that phone was something different. What I heard was a pitch. I called Tyler. I told him I'd been thinking about the medical bills and wanted to send something directly to the hospital to cover whatever insurance hadn't caught. I asked him which hospital. Silence. Dad, he said finally, what are you doing? I just want to help, I said. Hospital name, son. I'll overnight a check. Another pause. I'd have to ask Cass, of course, I said. No rush. He never called back with a hospital name. I hired an attorney, not a private investigator, not someone dramatic. Just a family friend who practices law in DuPage County, a woman named Helen who I've known for 20 years since she was an associate, and I rewired her firm's office building. I sat across from her in her conference room and told her everything. She listened without interrupting. I'm not saying anything happened, I told her. I'm saying something feels wrong. Give me a couple of weeks, she said. Helen came back to me with information I will not detail fully here, because some of it is still part of an ongoing matter. What I will say is this. There was no hospital record of a miscarriage. There was no specialist visit. There was, however, a pattern. 2 previous relationships in Cassandra's past. Both men, both with access to significant family money, both of whom had been approached for loans during personal crises that Helen's contact found difficult to verify. I sat in Helen's conference room for a long time after she told me. I thought about my son, my boy who loved too easily. I thought about the envelope in my suit jacket, which was still sitting on my dresser at home, never delivered. I thought about Cassandra in that parking lot in Naperville, looking at my truck, looking at my suit, looking at me, and the particular way she had calculated the distance between what I was worth and what I was. I called Tyler and asked if he would meet me for lunch in the city. Just the 2 of us. He said yes immediately, which told me he'd been waiting for me to call. We met at a diner on Milwaukee Avenue, the kind of place with vinyl booths and laminated menus and coffee that comes in a brown ceramic mug. Tyler looked tired. He looked like a man who'd been running for a long time. I told him everything. I did not soften it. I did not frame it as a question or a suspicion or a maybe. I laid out what I knew and what Helen had found, and I put a folder on the table between us and I let him read it. He was quiet for a long time. She wouldn't, he said. Tyler, Dad, she wouldn't. We're married. She loves me. She wouldn't. Read the folder, I said. He read it. When he looked up, his eyes were wet and his jaw was set, and he looked exactly like his mother used to look when something had broken her heart and she was deciding whether to cry or get angry. He always got that from her. "I didn't know about the miscarriage," he said quietly. "I mean, she told me. I believed her. We were both devastated. I know you were." She cried for a week. "I know, son." He stared at the folder. "What do I do?" "That's your decision," I said. "I can't make it for you. I won't try. But you have an opinion." "I have a lot of opinions," I said. "What I know for certain is that you deserve the truth. You always have." What happened next was not quick or clean or satisfying in the way that stories sometimes are. Tyler went home. He confronted Cassandra. I don't know exactly what was said. He hasn't shared the details, and I haven't pushed. But I know it lasted most of the night. And I know he called me at 6 in the morning from a hotel in the Loop. "She didn't deny it," he said. "I didn't know what to say to that, so I said nothing. She said it was a loan, that she was going to pay it back, that she was scared about money and she panicked." He exhaled. "She said she did it because she loves me and wanted a future for us." "And you believe that?" Silence. "I don't know what I believe," he said. "I know I can't stay there right now." "You have a key to the house in Lockport," I said. "You've always had a key." He came home 2 days later. He slept in his old room, the one with the Cubs pennant still on the wall and the scratches on the doorframe where we used to measure his height every birthday. He slept for about 12 hours straight. While he was sleeping, Cassandra texted me for the first time since the wedding. "Mr. Hale, I know Tyler has told you things and I know how this looks. I just want the chance to explain. I made mistakes. I am not a bad person. Please." I didn't respond. An hour later, "I know you have money set aside." Tyler mentioned it. "I'm not asking for that. I just need you to understand that I love your son." I still didn't respond. An hour after that, she called. I let it go to voicemail. The voicemail was 4 minutes long. She cried through most of it. "I have listened to it once. I will not listen to it again. Helen is handling the legal side of things with Tyler's attorney. There are conversations happening that I'm not part of and don't need to be. My son is an adult. He will make his own choices. What I know is that he's sitting at my kitchen table right now eating a bowl of cereal and watching a Cubs game on the small TV I've had on that counter for 15 years. And when I walked in earlier, he looked up and said, 'Hey, Dad,' in the exact voice he used when he was 9 years old. And I came home from work, and he was waiting to tell me about his day. The envelope is still on my dresser. I keep thinking about what I'm going to do with it. $42,000. 3 years of saving. The remains of a life carefully built with rough hands and long hours and no shortcuts. Maybe I'll help Tyler rebuild. Maybe I'll put it toward the house. Maybe I'll take a trip. Susan always wanted to see the Pacific Northwest, and I never took her, and I have thought about that more times than I can count. I don't know yet. What I know is this. I parked my old Silverado in the lot of that church in Naperville on a Saturday in October, and I walked in wearing my JCPenney suit and my Father's Day tie. And I watched my son get married, and I was proud of him even while my heart was breaking a little at the edges, the way it does when you love someone enough to let them make their own mistakes. I am a retired electrician from Lockport, Illinois. I have rough hands and a rust patch on my truck, and a suit that is never going to be the right suit for the right room. I have a son who is sleeping in his childhood bed right now, and a bowl of cereal going cold on my kitchen table, and $42,000 that I never gave away. I stood in that parking lot while she looked me over and found me lacking. She was wrong about everything except the truck. The truck really does need work.